Welcome, everybody. It's Mike Brown, the founder of FlowTrack, and this is the Fast Track with FlowTrack Day 3. And we're here with Danny and Lisa. And on Day 3, we're going to be going over roles, integrations with Stripe, other payment settings and payment integrations, and automation. So they got an action-packed day for you. Let's go ahead and bring them on stage now and say hello. So welcome, Danny and Lisa. How you doing
Mike,
today?
wonderful. Ready to get it going.
Perfect,
Great.
perfect.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
And so for those of you guys that haven't seen the first 2 days of Fast Track with FlowTrack, Danny and Lisa are successful agency owners, and they're also Black Label customers. So they're sharing their experiences with you guys, sharing how you can be successful as an agency, start your agency, or take your agency to the next level. So I'll let you guys kick it off from here.
Very good. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and preface this like I always do. I'm going to say that there's a million ways of setting up your system, doing things. We just want to show you what's working for us. And we try to keep it simple. So hopefully, if you hit a roadblock, we're going to make it a little bit easier for you. And I'm going to go ahead and start by sharing my screen. And we are going to start with roles. All right. And with roles, we get to roles by going to the settings menu. And let me explain to you what roles are and why they're so powerful here. They serve two purposes. Okay. The first purpose is that you can create a predefined role and limit people's activity. Okay, and access and so, like, for example, you can have one role for an admin, you can have another role for someone that just is a web designer or a VA or a contractor. I mean, it what you want to do is you want to be able to protect your data and only give them access to things that they need, and that is done at the role level. The other thing it does is, and I would argue it is probably more important to me, even though it's not by much, is that we can hide things from our customers for functionality that they don't need or they don't pay for. Okay. Like one of the things that we practice in our agency is we try to make our version of FlowTrack to be primarily a messaging and a light CRM. And that allows us to sell FlowTrack to a lot of more people because they don't have to be very tech savvy to use the system. And the only way we can do that is hide what they don't need. So with that being said, I am in the roles and permissions under settings, and I'm going to show you the default role. Everybody has this. And of course, when you sign up, you get all access to everything in here. Okay. Now, I cannot go over everything in here. And to be perfectly truthful, it's so powerful that I am still learning some of the cool little tricks in here. They're constantly updating it. In fact, there was a great update today by Mike and the team with FlowTrack, where they added some calendar privacy things in here. But you can imagine not regular employees need access to billing. That's none of their concern. That's usually for an admin. However, employees may need access to the chat cloud, which is where we handle our SMS, our email, how we communicate with a customer. So you may want to only give them agent access, so really, really powerful to be able to segregate that. And then we have so much more, and I can spend the whole session in here, really. But the ones that I really want to show are the contacts. In the contact screen, we can turn on and off these modules. Okay. And what I mean by modules is, let me show you. When we are in a contact, and we don't have any in here, so let me just create one real quick. Test contact. And we'll just say dan@dan.com. And we are just going to submit it. We have a contact, and see all these different modules here on the side. Some of these can be controlled in that privacy thing. We can hide all kinds of things. It's built so modularly, it really gives us a tremendous amount of control. Okay, getting back. So we have forms. Maybe we don't want to give someone delete on, we only want them to create and edit, or maybe just edit. Maybe view only. We can do that. And so there's a lot of control in here, but I want to show you, we're going to create a new role for a starter package. Maybe we just want to give away something like a chat widget. So I'm going to create a role and we're going to call this chat only. Okay. And this role, we get to determine what is the first screen they see. I'm probably just going to say, go to the chat, but it's usually going to be chat or welcome in this scenario. If you don't know where to send them, always send them to the welcome screen, which is this screen. Well, I don't want to leave the spot, but it's the screen that you see when you log in yourself. Okay, so we're going to change this to chat, and everything is off by default. I find it easier to start that way when we're building a very limited section. And maybe we say chat only, and let's make it an admin role, because maybe an employee role would not have this admin access, but have agent access. Because the admin, you can see they can go in here and create teams and edit the settings, look at reports. And agent usually can only see inboxes that are assigned to them, which you do in the settings in teams and so forth. But you just want them to be able to initiate messages. So we're going to turn that on just to show you. Maybe I'll give them a little access to the CRM in the contacts. So let's go ahead and just give them full functionality, just make our life easier. I don't want to go too deep into this. And let's save it. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pretend like I have a new customer. Let's see if I have everything set up. This is a brand new clean account, so I may not have a package created, but we're going to pretend like we're selling a system. They're going to log in at the current site, test, whoops, crazy mouse, test Dan, and test 2. I'm just making stuff up. Don't care about that. We're going to create a new system. Oh, don't have my package. That's what I needed to do. Let me just do that real quick, guys. I really want you to see this. All right, because you have to have a package that's able to sell. And since this is a clean system, we hadn't done one yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new package. It's going to be based off of, let me hit the refresh here. And it looks like I didn't enable the unlimited. Tell you what, I'm just going to go into the main account just so it looks better. All right. So let's go ahead and create one. I know I have the packages set up over here. So let's create a new contact user. And we're going to do the same thing. Dan test 1. Create new system. And we'll just use that one. It's fine. And we'll just hit submit. Okay, so now we created it. And I didn't give that person the role, so I'm going to manually change it. I'm making this a little bit more complicated than I should have. But I'm going to change this. Love the security here to make you. Oh, didn't create the role over here. Going in circles, guys. Excuse me. So let me just create this role real quick. Chat only admin. We're going to go to the chat screen. Everything's off. Let me turn on the chat cloud and let me give contact access. All right. Save. Now I'm going to go into an existing person and change their role. Okay, go back over here and we are going to create the chat only. Now we go. Now this is as if we gave that person the role from the very beginning.
Yeah, and Danny, go back to that role page. I want to show them really quick. They don't just have to have one role. You can have people with multiple roles, which is actually pretty cool. So on the contact detail page, if you go back over there, you can see, the guy has a little key icon right there. You see like, oh, he has one role, but you got a plus button so you can add multiple, right? So you may have
Mm-hmm.
other systems they want to dive into, right? Or different roles that they alternate between, which is really cool. So for me personally, I have multiple roles. I got a demo system that I use for demos, and then I got the real system, right? So you can have multiple roles in here to access different systems. So just wanted to pop in and share that because that's one of my favorite features.
Hop in as much as you like, Mike.
Yeah.
I can't encourage it enough. And
Yep.
I like to say I used exactly what you said yesterday, because
Mhm.
in our Black Label account, we have a we'll say a customer that turned into kind of a partner. So she has her own account, her own white label account. And then she really took to the system like a fish in water. And we said, hey, we're getting busier. We could use some help building some templates and this and that. So I created exactly what you just said. I just basically created an ad, added her to our system, and so she has one permission of roles, full admin in hers, and we gave
Mhm.
her admin in our other one, but I could have limited it. And
Mhm.
just that, I mean, it's just so awesome to be able to give people access at different levels to multiple ecosystems. So
Yeah,
clearly
it's
you
so much
thought this
better
out.
than having to log out and log back in, right, to some other user, and then
Totally,
now you can just use the drop down and switch roles, and you're good to go. So
totally,
I'll pop back out
totally.
now.
So check it out. So I gave this Dan test. I kind of took the long way around, but you can see I gave myself access, this test user, only to chat and the CRM. Now you can see how this is super duper important to keeping your system simple, right? Don't give them access to things they don't need. And you have to play around with the roles to make sure, because there's just so much in the system. You have to kind of play with it, log in, make sure it functions the way you want. But you can create a different package. And what's cool is when they upgrade the package, you can give them a different role that shows them more, which is really, really powerful. Okay. So that's pretty much what how I treat the roles. I use it to hide stuff and to also prevent people to get access to. I can't how many horror stories I've heard when I was in other systems where a VA would be able to go in, commandeer the account, and then be able to send out 10,000 SMS blasts to a list because that was their plan all along. And guess who's on the hook for that? Well, the person that owned that account, and all they were trying to do is get a VA. I've heard of VAs even being able to come in and steal the IP. Like if the agency owner had built a bunch of stuff, in the other accounts, not here, if you set up permissions, but in other systems that are not FlowTrack, they can, if they need admin access to the API to do stuff like that, they have the keys to the castle. And so I really, really came to appreciate when I found FlowTrack that I was able to further protect my assets. So that is why roles to me are one of my favorite features. Okay. So for the sake of time, because I really want to take my time with the automations, which is last, and then give Mike and Lisa time to fill any gaps in case I miss anything. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the integrations. Okay. So we're going to go to settings, and these are our integrations. Now, there's a lot in here, and I really don't want to go too deep because I'll be honest with you, the only two that matter to me is Stripe and maybe PayPal, but Stripe is where it's at. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to connect your Stripe. But let me go ahead and fly through these. You can connect any SMTP. Now, I'd like to point out you can bring your own SendGrid, but why? It's already built in, and I just use. You don't have to do anything. It just works. It's already connected. FlowTrack took care of everything on our end. Okay. We have our phone system. There is an alternative with Twilio, and it's not something that I use because I'm based in the US, and I find that the features that FlowTrack has put into their system is built because they have more control with their own phone system and SMS platforms. I don't want to speak for Mike, but I know that they're working on even getting further functionality with a Twilio integration. But I'm going to leave that to him because that's obviously his department. When they get further along with development, I'm sure he'll be proud to tell me, even educate me on what that is or what you can do with Twilio. Right now, for those of you in the US, if you do what we do, we just use the default, right? There are some other options. There's Plivio and Sluice. I have used neither, so I can't offer any perspective. And then you can connect your Facebook conversion tracking. We are not doing advertising, so I'm not going to pretend to say that I've used it, but I do like the fact that Facebook has a lot of tracking things with iOS that they had to work around, and they do a lot of server-side tracking to kind of to bypass a lot of the let's just say some of the privacy issues that came in. If it's server side, you can get more data back into your Facebook account and do retargeting. And so by having some of these features here, you can do that. Okay. But I want to go back to the billing. This is what we all need this set up, because we moved to FlowTrack because we were able to get a full SaaS plan at the most reasonable price that I've seen. Okay. And so we can rebill our SMS, we can rebill our SendGrid emails, we can rebill our phone numbers in minutes. And Lisa and I, we use Stripe. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enable. Now, if this is the first time you're seeing, you're like, what is this? It's a little intimidating, but there's really only one thing you have to do. Okay. Well, I say one thing. You got to create your own Stripe account. Can't help you there. Open up your Stripe account. And when you open up your Stripe account, you're going to log in and you're going to see something like this. Okay. And it took me a few minutes to find it. But if you go to developers, API keys, you can see we played around with it. You can create an API key. Now, we've already been in here, so sometimes it'll give you one in the very beginning. But let's say you've already played with it. We're going to create a secret key. Okay. And it is going to send me a code, because it is all about security, because this is important stuff. So let me get that here. Waiting for it. And thank you, Stripe, for not sending me a code. Let me just use my authenticator. Give me just a second, guys. Let me open that up. As you can see, security is king. All right. And we're going to name it just so we know where we put it. We're going to go FlowTrack demo. Okay. We're going to create it, and it's only going to show us this key once. Now we're going to delete it. So those of you that know what this is, don't think it's going to work later. Okay. And I'm going to copy this. I'm going to leave it open just in case I boo-boo, and I'm going to paste it here in the API key. I'm going to hit save. Integration enabled. We are done on the FlowTrack side, but there's a few steps over here. We're going to hit done. Okay. And you can choose if you're going to allow it to be visible to all CRMs. I would imagine that is not. Now, I just realized that we have already authorized it. Let me see here. Mike, do you mind jumping in and giving me a hand here? Because I remember that what we have to do, if nothing else, we can explain it if you're still there, Mike. Basically, we have the next step that's supposed to pop up. Come on in, Mike. Help me out.
Hey, what's going on? So you got to fill me in. I just heard my name.
No,
So,
you're good. Basically,
all
long
right.
story short, I realized I had already connected FlowTrack and self-authorized it.
Uh-huh.
So I put in the key and it just obviously worked. What I wanted your help, because I'm doing it from memory. I did it like 6 months ago. I wanted to describe, since I couldn't do it live, what's going to happen is that here in Stripe, we're going to get a pop-up that's going to basically make us do a drop down. And I wanted your help because you remember it too, where
Well,
we're basic.
I did it like 2 years ago, so so I
Well,
think I did
if
it even
nothing
longer than
else,
you,
I may
but
try to
we
record
can do
another
it.
video. But what happens is,
Yeah.
guys, here in Stripe,
Hmm.
it's going to basically we have to say that we're PCI compliant, which sounds scary because we don't know what it is, but FlowTrack has all that covered.
Hmm.
Okay. There's going to be a pop-up and you're going to
I'm
have
gonna
to choose one of three options if my memory serves. One of those options is saying that we're going to
I'm just gonna
handle
give
it on
you
our end and we are certifying it.
I'm just gonna give you the link so you can pull it up. So
Yeah, that would be
you can
helpful.
pop it in the chat right here. So this is
Perfect.
also in one of the help docs, but you just click on this link. It's
That
the
is
integration
most helpful.
settings, and then we can go over that together. So
Great. Thank you. That's why you're
yep,
here, to help bail me out.
yep.
Okay, this is
And you already did it, so
exactly it.
that's why you didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's hear. Well, it already took me there. So there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes you here and we have to enable it. This is what I was trying to get to. Since I turned it off and turned it back on, you're going to get this pop-up and we just need to check these three.
Mm.
Okay. And it is, why don't you want to use, I'm reading these, I collect payment securely through a pre-CI compliant vendor. That is the
Mhm.
selector we want.
Yep.
And then the name of the third party built your Stripe integration, and that is FlowTrack.
Mhm. You can also
And you
put
hit
CRM Connect in there as well, so you guys can put the generic name in there as well, so you don't have to share FlowTrack in there if it's for any of your sub accounts. But yeah, that's all you got to do. Check those 3 boxes, and you're good to
good
go.
call.
And yeah, let me know if you need
Yeah.
anything else.
Thanks for bailing me out. Appreciate
Yeah,
you, Mike.
anytime.
Okay. So you guys saw that. So I'm going to do it one more time. So after we put in the API key, right, which is what I did over there, I took that key, I put it here. Then you use the help doc from your help docs from FlowTrack, and it's going to give you that link that'll take you to this screen, and then we are going to self-certify, which means that FlowTrack has it covered. And we say we collect payments, and we can put CRM Connect or FlowTrack. Okay. Connect, and now we're good. It works. Okay. So that's how you integrate Stripe. And let me go ahead and start closing some of these things for maintenance. And now our Stripe works. Now we can start doing rebilling. All right. So pretty snazzy. I think
Hey,
Lisa would like to
Danny.
come on.
Yeah. So somebody, it didn't come up in the Skype chat because I believe for whatever reason it's not coming up in the chat. But somebody asked us for Stripe integration. Can you explain Stripe subscription invoices and how to implement canceling a subscription? And I don't know if you had planned on doing that, but like once you get Stripe connected, then what?
Well, the thing is, I don't want to confuse people. If you're trying to handle your subscriptions in Stripe, that's different. That's completely different than what we did. What we're setting up here is we are setting up the processor in FlowTrack so that you can handle the subscriptions in FlowTrack and rebuild the SMS and the email in FlowTrack. Mike,
Yeah.
would you like to add to that?
Yeah, 100%. When you guys connect your Stripe, then it's integrated with all the other services in here. So you could bill people from a flow, you can bill people from the contact, you can add a subscription, a one-time product, like really anything you can think of, or use it on invoicing, right? You got the click to pay on the invoicing. So that's what Danny's going over here. You plug in your Stripe credentials and then everything just works. Everything's all connected. And that's really the quickest and easiest way to get up and running, just enabling your payment integration. And Stripe's just one of many, right? We got 8 different integrations in there. Stripe's a great one, but a lot of brick and mortar businesses use other ones. Or if you're dealing with international clients, we got other ones in there as well. So, but this is the quickest and easiest way.
Right. So, and The other more powerful, or I'd say the more flexible, and Stripe is obviously their own, is the authorized.net integration. We are not using it, so I'm not going to go in there. I haven't needed to, but if you have someone that wants to use their own processor, that's probably going to be the one you use, the authorized.net. Okay. So that's how we do the Stripe integration. Okay. And I'd like to point out, you can connect multiple Stripes. Now, you do need to choose one to be active at a time, but I thought it was really cool to have multiple, to be able to connect multiple Stripe accounts. All right. So the next thing we're going to cover is payments. And this one's going to be pretty light because then we get to my favorite section, which is automations. Okay. So you could see that the payments, I'm just going to go over it. Lisa and I are not very heavy in the payment section, because pretty much everything's pretty much handled for us. We don't sell anything other than our subscription and our rebilling, which is automatically handled. Okay. But we can see every transaction that's gone through, even if it was complimentary or not. Right. And these were complimentary packages. All right. Now we have where if we had any subscriptions, they would be here. And then we can also see any transactions that coincide with payments. There's no transactions because these were free. Right. And then we have some reporting. Now, if you get deeper into invoicing, there is some invoicing in here. And once again, Lisa and I are not terribly deep on it. We like to keep things really, really simple. We just sell our subscriptions. And I'll be honest with you, I don't ever have to log into this section. All right. Because it's just handled for us. But there is one thing that I do recommend you do, and that is going to be in settings. If you are selling subscriptions and not physical products that you're trying to track, whether they're shipped or not, I like to go down here in settings and enable this. Okay. And all I'm doing here is I'm automatically marking things fulfilled. And it's not that it really matters. It just always like, why say not fulfilled? It's a digital product. So by me going to settings and turning this on, and then don't forget to hit save. Now, when I sell a package or whatever, and it's just putting in the log, and it's just because it's a pet peeve of mine, it will say fulfilled. Okay. So in products, this is where I will say what you use it for. In products, what you could do is, like, let's say you're maybe selling a lead magnet, right? We can do lead, magnet, whatever. You can put your description, you can add your picture, and then you can even add your pricing. Right? $9, one time, reoccurring, and so forth. And then you're able to use these products on your phone. I don't sell these little one-time products. I can see us using this in the very near future, in addition to selling our subscriptions and so forth. And then I wanted to create a product because here we can create a coupon for our product or our subscriptions, and I'm just going to say coupon 1, whatever. It's a one-time use, bulk with prefix. I'm going to use a single, and let's just put test 1 or test 2, whatever. And what is it? The currency, fixed amount, percentage, balance amount. Let's just do a $2 off coupon. No limit, maybe only limited to the first 100 people, redemption settings, and so forth. I don't want to go too deep because you really get into the weeds here, but we created a coupon for $2 off. And I believe it is going to come where we can specify fixed amount, if we can do a product. So right now the coupons are only for all products. I believe, and I don't want to speak for Mike, but I believe that there's been some discussion about even adding more functionality, which I'm excited here, So that is the payment screen. Okay. Now let's go to my favorite, hands down my favorite. Let's talk about automations. Okay. Now, over the course of a few days, we are going to be coming back to automations and actually building. I'm not going to use that time for here. Okay. Like right now, we're going to build as we need it, not to overwhelm. But what I want to use this little section for is to be able to explain what the most common blocks are to build automations. I want you to be aware of some of the cool things that are in here. And that way, when you say, wait a minute, I can do that, then you can worry about learning how to use that block, or as we go along, you learn them piece by piece instead of trying to overwhelm you all at once. Now, when we create a new flow, we have 3 choices, and I do believe there's going to be some updates here, but we're gonna explain it as it sits right now. I'm going to tell you that I use the contacts one more than anything. But if we wanted to trigger this off the form, we would say trigger this automation off a form, or trigger this automation off a phone call. But don't worry, some of these things, some of the power comes into it in the next screen. So I'm going to choose contacts, and then you can choose your tracks, which is where the tracking comes in. But I usually leave this blank and I just start. Okay, I choose contacts, start, and there's a lot of different triggers in here. This is where it really gets much more granular. We can choose based on a form submission, and we can choose based on a billing success, refunded transaction, contact scoring, user created, tags, which is probably going to be used a lot. That's probably the most powerful one, because you can add tags in other automations to trigger this automation if we trigger it off a tag being added. And so many more. So many more opportunities, the pipelines, we have tasks in here. And then, of course, we have the phone system. The chat is the messaging like SMS and incoming chat and so forth. And then, of course, we have our calendar triggers. So there's a lot of triggers in here, okay? And then this is what I wanted to go over. I wanted to go over what some of these blocks were. Some of these you're never really going to need, so I'm going to glaze over them. But an add example contact, I didn't know what that was until Mike showed me. But basically, I can see that you would use that when you are selling a system to someone else, okay? So we're the white label provider, and we want to create a package. And when that package is sold, let's say this is done when we have a new system sold, right? We could add this lookup contact and go in here and add ourselves as a contact. Oh, I'm sorry, not lookup contact, excuse me. Add example contact. And what this is, we are basically creating whatever we put here as a contact in their CRM. So it's a great way to say, here's the support contact, here's the sales contact, or here's my contact info. And so you can give them really important contact info by adding it to their system when it's set up. Okay, really, really cool. All right, the lookup contact is a very underappreciated block. And you don't realize how much you need it until you need it, okay? Let me explain. So in my last system, I had a situation, and it was actually brought up in one of our first days when we were talking about one of the reasons that I like FlowTrack. It's actually because of this block. And my old system would match contacts by phone numbers and emails, and I had no control. And that's fine, probably 95 to 98% of the time. The problem is that, let's say you have a parent with multiple children and you want to track the children. Well, the children are going to have the same phone number for both of them, which means that in old systems, when you try to update a child, if I'm making sense, that have the same phone number, the first child would get overwritten when the second one gets added. So it was really difficult to have what a deduplication feature or a merge feature with any kind of control. We had no control over it. And I hope that makes sense. While as here in FlowTrack, I get to control when a form is filled out, when an incoming phone call comes in, a text message comes in, I get to do a check. And this lookup contact allows me to define whether I want to merge the contact or keep them separate. So those, in my example, those two children that have a parent with the same phone number, Here in this system, we have the choice and the control to keep them separate. Okay. So, like, how would I do that? I would maybe do a phone number as a merge. Okay. And then I may do a first name, last name. So, what I'm doing right here is I'm basically saying when the person comes through here, when the form is filled, it's checking the data against these data points. And if these match, merge it with the person that it matches to. And I'm making it match phone number and first name. So when the other person, the other child, let's say Danny and David, if Danny with the same phone number, it matches it with the contact with Danny and the same phone number, and it won't overwrite David, the other child. I hope that makes sense. You may never need this, but when you need it, it is the difference of keeping an account or losing it. We almost lost one of the biggest accounts of our lives because we had a situation where one business owner had multiple businesses, and when they were updating the second business, it was overwriting the first because it was using the phone number and had no way to effectively deduplicate. It was overwriting. So here I wouldn't have had that problem. Now, I'd like to point out that this is super duper important, this logic, and the only way it considers this yes means it's a match. This no means it's not. If I do and, it is checking to make sure all of these conditions are true. Okay. So when you're building an automation, we're gonna make sure that if we want to duplicate the old system, this is how we would do it. How most people know those systems work. They're checking for a phone number or email to see if it's a match. So all of my automations generally start with this block. And I'm saying that if it's a match, merge it. By default, this is what I use in every form fill, every SMS, every phone call that comes in. This should be in the very beginning of your automation. Okay. This is, if you're getting a lot of duplicates in your system, it's because you don't have this lookup contact properly configured to start off your flow. Okay. So now we're going to go fast. I spent more time there because it's really, really a very important thing. We can assign contact owners. That's what this is. We can create pipeline items. So we can add someone to a specific pipeline and a stage. All right. There's some contact scoring. So you can basically figure out if someone's a hot lead based on a value system. You can update them. You can create a task and make for it to wait for that task to be completed. That's what this is for before it goes to the next step. We can create a CRM user or membership user, which the memberships is, they're adding a lot of features there. When that thing is done, I'm sure it's going to be, there's going to be LMS and everything in there. So I'm really excited to be able to use this block as that part of the product matures. And then this is important. We can automatically sell our products and charge, use the credit card on file or give it away for free and track all that stuff. Okay. And this also works for subscriptions. So you can have a form that sells a unique subscription or product. And by default, and not to get confusing, if that product or form is on that form, it does that part for you automatically, so you don't have to do it here. But what if you just want to tag someone and give them a product? You can do that. Maybe the trigger here is a tag, and then you can fulfill with a product or subscription here. Okay. Data services. This is a little advanced for most people, but you can install a blueprint by adding a tag to that user. For you advanced users, you can also do API calls and pull in data from third-party sources. If you like Zapier or Pabbly, you can define your webhook. Still advanced, but very, very powerful. All right. We can also create a fire your Facebook pixel, right? And conversion, kind of went over that. We can add and remove tags. Logic, my favorite section. Okay. And let's see here. Let's start at the top. We can add to another flow. Random. This one's really, really powerful. This is actually, I'm going to really go into depth on this on our SMS training on how to get to the inbox. All right. Because right now there's a lot of text getting filtered, and I want to show you the best practices. When you use this random block, and then when spin tax is released in the system, assuming you're watching this now, I'm sure it's going to be coming out soon, and then it'll be in there. You know, we're able to help get past what other systems get filtered for. And we do that by using a combination of the drip and the random block that you see in front of you. One thing that the random can do, and I actually did a demo for a potential customer before this call, he got really excited because he wanted to give different coupons, kind of like a lottery, to his people that go to his shop. I can do that here. I can create multiple routes, right? And let's say 99% of the people get in route A 1 coupon and 1% get a better coupon. That's how we do it. Right? So here, route A, which I set at 99%, I could do a 10% off coupon. But route B, 1 out of 100, based on these percentages I did here, would get the 20% off. And he was like, that's cool. I'll be honest, I think I sold an account today just off of that block because he was comparing us to other SMS providers. He realized how powerful and how much more control he had. He was looking for a different system because they were having a hard time getting to the inbox. And when he saw that we could do drip, that we can do random, and then I told him that spin tax is coming, he said, this is gonna help my business. I believe this is the system. He was really, really excited, and it was this random block. The other thing the random block can do is it can take answers from your form. I'm not going to show you here, but we can basically create a path based on every single answer in a question. So if you have a form with a radio with 5 options, and if they choose one of those options, you can use this block to take them down a different path depending on their answers. Really powerful. Okay. The condition is basically a logic statement, so you can check values in the contact. The data set is a little advanced. You can do a check to see, hey, if this person is called 3 times in the last 7 days, take them this way. If not, take them this way. It's very powerful. I'm not personally using it, but I can see the use case if you're in a very high call or high message we're not using it in any of our systems right now. The Node.js is a very simple in the programming world language. It's very common. So, but you would use this block to be able to do math and logic, really advanced logic in the system. In my other system, I had to go get a server. I had to hire a programmer to build what I can do right here in this automation. Okay. And if you want something custom, you can even go to Chat GPT to write you a script here to do some math. It is advanced, but it's not too advanced where it can't be done. I can get some stuff done, and I don't consider myself a programmer, but it's very easy for me to go get a contractor, spend 50 to 100 bucks, and they can build me a custom formula instead of having to port it into Google Sheets and then Google Sheets doing a formula and then having to port it back. Here, it does it all in one spot. All right. So this is probably one of the more powerful blocks in the entire system. When I saw this, I knew I wanted to sign up for FlowTrack because I saw all the money I'd be saving and not having to manage a third-party server to be able to do these calculations or send it to Google Sheets or Zapier or whatever. I don't have to leave the system for a lot of the things that I was doing because of this block. All right. We have our wait step, which is wait for amount of time. We have our remove from flows. We can go to another step. API output, really, really advanced, but it's basically I'm told, if I understood it correctly, Mike can jump in if I misspeak, but I'm told it's basically allowing you, you know how you can connect to other software via their API? You can use that block so other software can connect to this like it's an API. That's how I understand it. Not a programmer, so if I misspoke, forgive me. All right. Now, the rate limiter it's really, really important. This helps me get in the inbox. I may only do 5 messages every minute, right? So that's how I kind of stay out of the spam filters for SMS and email. I don't send out 3,000 text messages in an hour. I want to spread it out as much as possible, and I use this rate limiter to do that. Okay. Then we have redirect visitor to a URL. Remember when I was talking about how people can answer a form or, select the radio button and make a choice on a form? Well, if you do a logic check to split them up based on their answer, so let's say they chose option A, right? In fact, I'll show you. Let me just build one real quick. Let's just pretend I did this right. Okay. And let's say this was option A and this was option B. And I'm just putting placeholders there so I can try to save it. Oh, no field. Basically, what it does is it gives me the ability to sort each one of these. And if I put I'm going to cheat, guys, and just choose a different option just to show as if I had done it right. So let's pretend this is option A, option B, right? And so forth. What I can do is I can go under here and put redirect and take them to www.stripe1.com or whatever you want. You can send them to different thank you pages. And so based on their answers, when they're filling out a form or a quiz, you can take them to a different page. When I saw this, I got really excited. So that's not exactly how you do it, but I just want to let you know how it's done. Okay. In other trainings, we will actually do this together, and then it'll be easier to follow along. I just want you to know what this system can do right now. All right. We have a wait for email or SMS. Okay. So what this means is you can put a link in an SMS or an email, and this block is waiting for them to click on that link, and it can do something based on whether they click it, and then it has the ability, if they don't click it in an amount of time, take them down a different path. So there's a lot of really cool logic in waiting for the SMS open or click. We have our time condition. This is great in the IVR system, where we can send people one way or the other. Like, let's say our business hours are Monday through Friday from 9 to 9. Well, great. If it's in the business hour, we can go down this path. If it's outside of our business hour, we can take them down another path. Maybe take them to a missed call text back saying, hey, we're unavailable, or take them to a completely different IVR message that says, sorry, we're closed. Leave a message, right? So the time condition is really powerful. And then the wait for a reply is exactly as it sounds. Let's say you send an SMS, you can put this block right under it and wait for them to reply, and also have the timeout functionality, right? And then, of course, we have our messaging. We can send emails, we can send our SMS, and then we can edit the opt-in status. Okay. The only thing we don't see here is the phone system, and that is because I'm just going to exit out of here, because I chose, when I created my flow, I didn't choose this phone calls. When I go to phone calls, you can see there's a whole new section here unlocked, and we can transfer people. We can take voicemails. We can ask for a rate your experience. But more common than anything, we're going to use the IVR, where we can go in and say, hey, thanks for calling. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. Mike, did I miss something?
No, you didn't miss anything.
Oh,
you
just wanted to come in.
I just wanted to come in. I want everyone to see my beautiful face.
Love it.
No, I was kidding.
So like this right here, you can take them down different paths. Press 1 for sales, press 2 for support. You know, another cool thing that you can do, and it got me excited, is think about the other blocks in the other section where we can say, hey, you know what? Maybe someone has an overdue bill. Well, we can automate giving them a tag for an overdue bill in another automation. And then right when they do an incoming call, we can do a logic step. If they have an overdue bill, take them to billing automatically. Or maybe they have maybe you assign them a contact or an owner, a contact owner. You can automatically route them to that owner and they don't have to go through the standard IVR. I've used Ring Central forever. Not a huge fan about it. I'm actually canceling it in the next 30 days. And I am moving my automotive shop to this system because having an all-in-one phone and SMS platform is super duper powerful. And I'd like to point out, Mike, I don't know if I've told you this. I have about 6 phone lines with my Ring Central. My bill is upwards of about $350 a month. Of course, I have unlimited calling, right? I don't want to pay per minute. Actually, that's not true when you do the math. I did the math. I counted my minutes, how much I'm using them for my 6 phone calls. You know how much my new bill is going to be? Instead of like $350, $80. And you want to know what else about that $80, Mike? That's with 100% markup. So 40 of that is going in the agency pocket.
That's awesome.
So I have to tell you that when we are selling per minute, per text message, it's about drawing perspective. You can go spend $50 for one phone line, $30 with Ring Central, but to get another extension, you need another $30. What do you need for another extension in FlowTrack? Our cost is less than $1 a month. So you can give them a 10-line phone system for about, don't quote me on this, $10, as long as they're willing to pay their per minute fee.
And that's if you're getting a phone number for each person, but you don't even have to get a phone number for each person. Extensions are free. So
right.
But please, we're encouraging you, buy as many phone numbers as you want.
Sure.
No, but
and go ahead.
The thing that you mentioned is one of my favorite features is being able to do a condition in the middle of a live phone call, right? Like if the person has the delinquent bill, send them to billing. If they're a customer, right, send them to support. If they're someone in your sales pipeline, forward them to your cell phone, right? You can do so much stuff with the conditions. It's nuts. And these are real time when a phone call comes in. So being able to route your calls based on any condition you can think of is one of the most powerful things, I think. One of the companies I worked at in the past, you won't believe how much money they spent trying to get their phone system integrated to their custom, CRM, and to do simple things like that, and be able to do that just drag and drop is nuts.
Yeah, and while you were talking, Mike, and I'm sure you saw, I just created a quick if-else statement. I'm not saving it, where I'm checking the contact. The tag has overdue. Let's pretend I had that tag, and if it's yes, I can direct them to billing. That's it. If it's no, take them to the IVR. I just did it.
Yeah.
It's super duper powerful.
For me to talk about it than it does to implement it. So
yeah, exactly. And that's pretty much what I have for automations. I'd like to invite, even though Mike just stepped out, Mike and Lisa back. We can go over questions. We can you guys can help me out here because I wasn't watching.
Yeah, there's a couple questions, Danny. Most of them were answered, but a really good one here is, and we'll probably get to this later, but is there a way to link calendar booking to the IVR?
The short answer is, if you want to link your calendar link, like let's say they want to press 1 to book an appointment, abso-freaking-lutely. What you do in that case is you have them press 1, and then you can, right under that branch, send them an SMS with your calendar link to your form. Mike?
So I'm looking at the different options right here. So, the calendar bookings can also be hooked up to flows. So when someone does a booking, or when you set the outcome of a booking, which are the custom event statuses, or you approve or decline a booking, all those can trigger flows. So in there, you can do things like, add someone to a pipeline, add a tag, whatever you want, and then you can use that data later in a flow. So if you're routing people by tag, that's how you could do it. Or routing people if they exist in a pipeline or not, that's how you can do it. But I do think that's a great idea. On that condition step you're just going over, we have like tons of stuff in there, routing based on contact, task, emails, SMS, calls. I think we need to get one in there for calendar to add that in there. But yeah, if you're doing it on anything else, calls, tags, all that good stuff, you can do that. But we'll get the calendar one in there too.
Yeah. Just got to connect physical phones to a phone. Mr. John, I'm gonna have to say that is pretty advanced, but I love the idea of doing a separate training, because guess who has to do that soon? Because I have actual hard phones, Polycom phones at my business, and I gotta convert those from Ring Central into the FlowTrack ecosystem for me to do it. So let me do that, learn from the mistakes I'm surely going to cause, and then we will be happy to create some training for that.
Perfect.
We can discuss if we should, but the question is, can you?
I'm going to let Mike answer that first, and then I'll give my
you
opinion.
popped the question on the screen. Can you do voicemail drop? So we don't have the voicemail drop functionality in here today. And let me just say the way that people do the voicemail drop typically is there's the 2 consecutive calls. Second one goes to voicemail. Now there's some issues with that, right? And it has to do with the calling patterns. And it could, mess up the reputation of your phone number. So I know a lot of people are super interested in the voicemail drops. They're not successful all the time. I think Danny can comment on the success rate on that. But I think that's a big reason people run into problems with, their reputation on their phone numbers, because they see, just 2 back-to-back calls like that, a bunch of times. That's not, normal, super common behavior, right? So that's something that could affect your deliverability even on your calls. So that's something that we're looking at, but there's not, something that's on the wish list too. But there's pros and cons to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak from my agency perspective. Obviously, I'm sure people will have difference of opinions, but from our perspective, I've never seen. It's based on old technology, right? When there used to be a back door, now that doesn't work with most of the newer phones. As a matter of fact, when I was testing the voicemail drops with my old system, my phone would ring every single time. And so when I realized it, and I tested on a few of my friends, their phone would ring. It didn't, most of the time it rang. I would argue half the time, even though I don't obviously know the exact percentages, but about half the time that I tested it, the phone would ring, the person would pick up, and then they would hear that. And I get those recordings, I get pretty upset, because I think if you have something worthwhile to say, you better say it to me yourself. That's how I feel. And then that doesn't even take into account what Mike said. Now that with 10 DLC registration, they're starting to really, really crack down. And there's nothing more important than SMS deliverability for me. Nothing. Because that's where the conversions are. And I will not risk my most precious channel to put a voicemail in someone's box. I'd rather just send them a text. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you're messaging people, obviously they've opted in to receive communications from you. The text message is just so much easier. It's quicker to read. You don't have to sit through a voicemail, right? And if you do get that double call, you're right. It is annoying because you got a missed call and then you get a voicemail. You don't want to. So just keep that in mind. But regarding the reputation side, like I was saying, is everyone's doing the what's it called, the scam likely, and the other one. There's a few different things that pop up, but if you end up having a abnormal calling pattern like that, you could possibly get something like that, and a lot of times you don't even know. Right? You'll never know. You'll just notice that no one's answering the phone when you start calling them. So
right. From my perspective, the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Related question, since we're already on the topic, is there a way to display contact information if incoming call is a client in the CRM already?
Absolutely. So when you get an inbound call, your phone pops up and it's ringing, right? And you're actually going to see their name on there on the incoming call notification. And you can click that, whether you already answered the call or you didn't answer the call, you can click on it and pull up that contact record so you know everything about them when you're speaking with them. So 100%.
Nice. And then going back to some of the math you were doing, Danny, is there a way to introduce a random number as part of the flows, something more advanced than percent dual route that you actually demoed?
Well, I'm gonna say that random is always a percentage. And in that block, even though I only showed 2 paths, you can add 10, you can add 20. So, I think I'm answering your question, but it doesn't have to be dual. I only did a 1 and a 99, but I could have had 10 or more options or 6, and I get to control the weight of the randomness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe tell us more what you want to do with the random thing. So if you're just doing a roll the dice thing and you're texting someone, "Hey, you got a 7," or what? Tell us more about the use case so we can tell you more how you can do something with the random route. Because you always have the custom code step too, where you can
Yeah,
do
I
all
was
that
just
and
thinking.
more.
You
Yeah.
could do the node.js, give it a value, and then that value can go down different routes. That's another way to do stuff. A little bit more advanced, but yeah.
Yep.
And moving on to this kind of gets into a flow. Can a calendar appear on a web page as a read-only list? Then can a calendar date time trigger a flow?
So calendar, we have the embed widget for the calendar, so you can embed the booking widget on a third-party site. If you're talking about just the calendar that you see inside FlowTrack, that is only visible inside FlowTrack. There's obviously permissions and all that stuff around that. There's no embed link for that, but I think that's a cool idea. Definitely put that on roadmap, roadmap.flowtrack.co. And then for the second part of your question, can a calendar date time trigger a flow? If you can clarify that one, I'm a little confused, but I think the answer to your question is yes. And it's events can trigger flows, right? So someone books an event that can trigger a flow. After you've had the event and you change the event status to the person showed or didn't show or interested, not interested, whatever those event statuses are, all those can also trigger a flow.
And I'm just going to speak to this one because I really believe this is fact, right? In my honest opinion, do better marketing. If you wouldn't want it done to you, don't do it to others. No one likes ringless voicemail. And if you're going to do this type of stuff, if you're going to do cold email, if you're going to do a lot of the type of things that you hate, keep in mind that if your brand's on there, then you are actually not doing good things for your brand. So, depending on who you are and who's doing this, a lot of times these are done by nameless people because most people understand this is going to be a detriment to your brand. I actually had my phone number spoofed once, and you can't imagine the phone calls I got during the 2 days it was being spoofed of people yelling at me, swearing at me, threatening my life, and telling me my company sucked. And that was a few years back, and they actually stole my information and acted as me, and that was a horrible thing. So it really led me to believe that it's just not a good thing. It's nobody likes it. And yeah, you might have to send out 10,000 to get 20 people to respond. You could use that time, money, and effort better and get 200 or 300 responses instead.
Exactly. And that's why we have verified caller IDs. So no one's spoofing and putting in Lisa's phone number. So
Exactly. Interesting question. Will there be a way to add voice messages to texting?
that's a great idea. So the first step we did for the texting was on the MMS side. You got the ability to do images. I know there was something in the queue to support different file types. I don't know if the voice one or the MP3 or the wave, whatever, was in there yet, but if it wasn't, I know it's definitely on the list. But Danny, have you tried that one? I know you were in there using that.
I haven't played with it yet. You know,
I think we got the
I know that
contact
if it's
card.
not there, it would be
Mhm.
awesome to be able to just send a URL. But I know
Mhm.
that you know you're very big about security, Mike. So I don't know if that's a possibility, but I'm real big about preventing my customers, people that subscribe to my system. I don't want them to log in if they don't have to. I always
Mhm.
spoon feed them anything I can in their email or their SMS. But then again, I mean, I personally don't mind the email that we're currently doing with a system trigger event where they can click on it and it takes them where they need to go. It's really kind of the best of both worlds. If we can give them that kind of link where maybe they still have to log in to check it, maybe I know
Oh,
we're just brainstorming.
I think you're talking about something different, Danny. So I think he's just talking about having a voice recording on the text message, kind of like you do
Oh,
MMS.
that's an
I
RCS
you're
feature.
hmm hmm I think that's an MMS feature too, right?
I'm not sure. I think that's mostly RCS because that's like WhatsApp uses something like RCS. That's iMessage
hmm
that uses RCS. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I could be wrong. I'm far from
That
the
that sounds
expert.
like a challenge to Mike. If we can add
Yeah.
that to MMS, that would be great.
I'm pretty sure. I'm just looking it up right now. So yeah, you can. So
Cool.
MMS is, media attachments. So we got, pictures and animated GIFs, videos and audio, and even the VCF, the virtual contact card that you can attach. So
Got it.
MMS does support that. I need to just confirm if that file extension was enabled on the upload in there. But if it wasn't, that's an easy thing for us to do to get that on there. So that's one thing I'm going to be checking.
I've got two more questions, and then I think we should call it.
hmm
So if you haven't asked your question, please save it or send it to us in Facebook. But next question was, any way we can have junk emails coming in, not create a contact in the CRM? And if we can't, what's the best way to delete those emails as a group instead of one at a time?
Well, if you could only delete only the junk emails, I think if you solve that problem,
Be rich.
everyone will
We'd be rich.
you'll be rich. But we gotta break that up into different parts, right? So first of all, is how do you identify those junk emails? If you're doing something, based on known contacts, you could do something around that. If it's an unknown contact, maybe you treat it as a suspect email. But if you have a spam filtering thing that's, prefixing your email with the word spam, you could also do something like that. But I think that's more of a email question, is how do you identify the junk emails? Once you figure out that, right, then it's more about how do you communicate that to FlowTrack, or better yet, just not send it to FlowTrack at all. So when you guys connect your email account, you can also do the email forwarding on there, and you can conditionally forward mail. So you can conditionally forward based on whatever criteria you have. But again, you'd be relying on some other third-party system like your email service to identify those junk emails. But there is a bulk delete feature, so you can bulk delete emails in there and contacts as well.
I have an idea. I don't know.
Mhm.
Don't do it just because I'm saying it. But if you have have a trigger, an automation that fires off of every single incoming email,
Mhm.
do your lookup contact, see if they exist in the system, like maybe do a double check, first name and last name, if they're in the system. If they're
Mhm.
not, give them a tag that they possible spam. Then
Mhm.
when and that'll just work. And then when you go to your contacts, you can do a search for that spam and check the ones that you know are spam and delete them.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%.
All right, last question. Does the incoming call get recorded on the timeline of the contacts if they're already in the system?
That's a great question. And the call recordings are on the call log table in the phone system currently. We are going to be adding them on the contact page so you can see them in the contact history and the unified history. And we're also going to be adding a feature where you can actually send someone the recording if you want to, have that in an email, something like that. Now that's great for the voicemail scenario. You get a voicemail, you don't have to log into the system and go check it. Just click on your email and you can listen to it right there. But that's a great question.
That sounds cool. See, I learn about things too, and like I'm a guest just watching these lives. All right. Well, I think we're at our end point. I do want to say what we're going to be going over tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a pretty good day. So day 4 of the Fast Track with FlowTrack is we're going to be going over phone numbers. So we're going to be purchasing a phone number. And then we are going to be buying that phone number, right? Purchasing and buying it. And then we're going to do the 10 DLC registration. Now, the 10 DLC registration is super duper important. And Mike showed me a lot of cool tricks that we're going to share with you to have your best chance of being able to be approved. And I found the secret sauce is building a form, and putting that link to that form in the submission. And then we're going to build a missed call text back sequence so you guys can make that part of your standard plan. And then we're going to build a very simple IVR using a lot of the stuff that we went over today. So you guys have enough to be able to at least know what you need to do to start being able to connect a phone number to a business, be able to SMS, and to make sure that if we have time, we may even have time to go over some best practices, because I know a lot of people are asking me about best practices on staying in the SMS inbox and not getting filtered.
Yeah, and it sounds like an impactful day. Keep in mind, everyone, so some of you guys here are super advanced. Some of you guys are just starting out, and this all feels overwhelming. You don't have to learn right now how to do everything. In this 10 days, it's helping you understand what's possible with the system. So when you're out there talking to folks, trying to sell it, trying to use it, if you're a brick and mortar trying to use the system, we're just trying to give you a good feel of what's available to you, what you can use in your business, and start generating ideas for you. So if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, remember, you don't have to implement every single thing you learn right now. In fact, if you're just starting out, I would say start with the basics. Start from the beginning, get your stuff set up, and only grab information when you need it. But now you know where it is and where it's available to you.
All right. Well,
Perfect.
Looking forward to tomorrow, guys. Same bat time, same bat place.
Yeah, and make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button so you guys can get notifications for the upcoming days with Lisa and Danny. And make sure you ring that notification bell. And as always, follow us on social media. Got YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So this was another awesome day. Thank you so much, Danny and Lisa. I think everyone's really enjoying this. This is super awesome. You guys came here to share your experience and how you guys got online with FlowTrack. So we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Very good.